Welcome to Roaming with Restless Women, real talk with wise, dynamic women leaders. I'm Julie Noonan, your host, CEO, and founder of Intuitive Wisdom Coaching, and I'm living my dream life. I live and work in my RV, coaching senior women leaders as they navigate corporate politics, family drama, and personal goals to live their own dream lives. These women are restless. They are never done seeking new opportunities, learning, and ways to create value in the world. If you'd like to apply to be a guest, stick around to the end of the show and I'll let you know how. So let's go. Welcome to today's edition of Roaming with Restless Women, real talk with wise, dynamic women leaders. I'm Julie Noonan, your host, and today I have with me Lisa Sakai. Lisa is a financial consultant who works with clients on their bucket list acceleration. I love that term. Getting to live the way they want right now. As the co-founder of One Vision Retirement, she has been working with clients across the country for over 12 years. Lisa's advice provides easy to understand baby steps that people can take action on right away. Lisa wants to leave a legacy that includes changing the conversation about money. So let's get to it. Welcome, Lisa.
Thank you. I appreciate this. This is so much fun. I'm so happy to be here.
Oh, thank you. All right. So you say changing the conversation about money. I'm going to put you
Yeah,
on the spot. From what to
sure.
what?
For women, from no conversation really to actually having conversations about money. I'm actually kind of thinking about doing a podcast on just having conversations about money because we just don't. It's kind of that taboo thing. We think it's too private. We think our girlfriends don't care or whatever. And we just don't talk about money like men do. Men do
Yeah.
tend to talk about it. They talk about how their 401ks, some of it might be bragging. I don't,
Yeah.
but it's still at least a conversation that's happening. And I don't feel like women have conversations at all when it comes to money.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of women feel like they're behind the eight ball. They don't understand stuff. Everybody else understands it. How come I don't understand it? That kind of thing. There's a lot of shame that I think women hold when it comes to money and to finances. And at the same time, if they would just have more conversations with their girlfriends, they would realize that we all are kind of coming from the same spot.
Mm-hmm.
We all have these insecurities. We all,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter if you're a huge CEO at a big company versus, you're just getting started as an intern someplace. Most women have these same kind of fears that they're not doing something right,
Mm-hmm.
that they're supposed to be doing something and they're not doing it and they don't know what that thing is. And there's always that kind of fear that's in women when it comes to money in general. And so, that's kind of, I work with bankers and they have the same.
Yeah.
These women do banking for a living and they still have these insecurities that they're like mixing up what a traditional IRA and a Roth IRA is. And like, it's just insecurity in all of us. It's kind of funny. So I think if we could have more conversations at all, it would just become more everyday, more open, more questions, more, the more that we can question, just ask questions and get answers and say, I don't understand that. Can you explain it a different way? Or I just think that that's
Hmm.
so important.
Where do you think that reticence comes from?
I think because we don't have those conversations with our moms in general.
Mm-hmm.
It's usually when I hear women talk about, if I do find a woman who's a little bit more secure in her money knowledge and stuff, it's usually I talk to my dad or I talk to my granddad.
Uh,
And it's funny because I'll say, well, are you having conversations openly with your mom or with your girlfriends and it's never with other women. It's really funny how that works.
mm,
And I think essentially, unless you have a father who's very pointedly making sure you understand finance, which most of us don't, and doesn't mean our dads didn't care about us but that's not an area that they maybe were comfortable with themselves or whatever. It just doesn't happen. And I think that that's kind of when you I mean, it's like anything. It's like working a muscle or reading a book. As you read, you get better at reading
Hmm.
over time because you read more, right? Same thing. If we would have more open conversations about money, how things work, questions,
Hmm.
things I'm doing wrong, things I'm worried about, that kind of stuff, I do think it would become a little bit more everyday, less daunting. And so I think that that's where it comes from.
It's really funny to me that this just occurred to me as you were talking that, women talk about all kinds of problems and issues. I mean, they get deep, really deep with each other. I
Yeah.
mean, best friends, girlfriends, whatever, their mom. And usually money is a part of some,
Hmm.
of those problems. So for instance, when I got divorced, the money part was the most painful part to some degree for me because it
Hmm.
lasted. I had to buy out my ex-husband.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was the main breadwinner. And so I had that debt
Mm.
because I wasn't going to move my children. And
Yeah.
that was I never talked to anybody about that at
Mm-mm.
the time. Now I do. Since then I have. But yeah, you're right. I talked to them about all my pain and emotion and
Yeah.
all that stuff, but not about the financial piece.
Yeah. And it's funny, I ask clients, I've asked prospects, I've asked just people like, when's the last time you just had a open dialogue with a girlfriend about an article you read about estate planning or
Oh,
about,
good Lord.
something, and it
You're
never
assuming I
comes
ever
up.
read one.
Well, and that's part of it too, is just
Yeah.
taking a little time to self-educate a bit, because I think we feel, again, it brings up a lot of this, I'm stupid, I don't understand it.
Oh,
But
yeah.
if you look at, when I started, and I need to change my bio because it's been almost 14 years
Oh,
now, that I've been in the industry. But when I started, I did not have a background in this. So I was an English lit major. I didn't have a background at all in this. I had a basic understanding of finance, but I didn't understand any of this stuff. And it was intimidating sitting in a room full of men, that when we were going through trainings and things like that, and they all had finance degrees or had been in the
yeah.
industry for a long time. And I'm sitting there going, I don't know what this woman is talking about. I don't understand what that means, interest rate and this and that. Like, it
Yeah.
just didn't make a lot of sense. And I just kept sitting there and taking notes and going, I don't understand that. So Google's an amazing tool, because you go in there and you Google or you Bing or whatever you do, and you go in there and you look it up and say, I don't understand that still. Okay. And it's repetition. I think
Uh-huh.
we forget that actually repetition on subjects help, because one day I was sitting there, I was like, oh, I get it. It wasn't because I was a genius. It was, I'd heard it so many times. I'd looked it up so many times. I thought about it a couple of times. Like, it just started to come. And
Hmm.
I think if we would take a little time to not, to just read, go on Yahoo Finance and find an article that sounds kind of interesting and read it. Yeah, it may not make sense right away, but if you do that once a week, and just, it takes 5 minutes to do, right? And we do something like that just to kind of enrich, it will start to make sense over time.
Well, see, here's the thing. I'm an English lit major myself.
Yeah.
When I hit, excuse me, when I hit the eighth grade and was introduced to algebra, my mind literally scrambled.
Hmm.
I absolutely hate numbers. They do not make sense to me. You can tell me something a million ways from zero, and the jargon in the
Hmm.
finance industry,
Yeah, that's the problem.
that alone, when my financial advisor is explaining something to me, I will look at him and say, okay, can you put that in third grade English? What's really happening to my money? What are you
Hmm.
doing with it?
Yeah.
Cut all the jargon. I don't understand the jargon. Don't want
Yeah,
to
the
know.
jargon's a problem. Hmm.
Yeah, don't want to know. So, do you find that when you're talking with women that they, some of them will have these blocks
Mhm.
about numbers or math not making sense. I mean,
Yeah.
thank God for the STEAM movement right now,
Yeah,
for
exactly.
our young people.
Exactly.
I wished I had been part of that, that it had been
Yeah, I
available when I
know.
was in school. But so tell me a little bit about what some of those blocks are.
Blocks can be, a lot of them are from past experiences, whether mistakes or times that they were kind of made to feel stupid in a situation.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, it's a lot of conversations they've had with other financial advisors, either male or female. I've had some where female advisors are talking because there are so few of us in this industry. I think some female advisors feel like they've got to compete, and
Yeah,
so they've got to show that they're that much smarter. um, and I just, I was a school teacher. I don't talk like that. That's not my language. I understand the jargon, um, but I don't talk to people like that because I know what it's like to not understand it. Whereas
right.
so many of these people went and got a finance degree right out of school. And so they were like 18 learning this jargon. So they don't really remember what it's like to be an adult and not understand what that means.
Well, and when they learned it, there was none of their hard-earned livelihood
Yeah.
money on the line either.
Exactly. Yeah,
And
exactly. And
that's
I
terrifying.
think, yeah, I think sometimes advisors kind of forget. We get so worked up about the rate of return and this, really people just want to make sure, am I still on track for what we talked about? Are you, showing me all the fees that you're charging? Are we, am I too risky? Am I risky enough?
Mm-hmm.
Like those kind of are the questions. Nobody's like, I've had people say, I had a lady who came to me as a prospect, and she came in and she said, I got a 15% rate of return last year. I'm like, well, that's great. And she goes, is that great? I don't know what I'm comparing it to.
Exactly.
And I
Exactly.
said, well, yeah, that's good, but she doesn't know what the comparison is, because we never talk about like what the actual market's doing compared to what they're in and all this stuff. Like that's the
Mm-hmm.
stuff that they have no basis for it. And
Mm-mm.
so if you have no basis and you're trying to jump from ground zero to ground 100 with your own money, it's very scary. It's terrifying. And I was reading a book, um, that's geared towards the financial advisor market. And they said
Oh,
that only, I think it was like 20% of women actually seek out financial advice. So you are actually in a minority, and 80% of
whoa.
women won't even consider going and talking to a financial advisor because of exactly what you said,
Oh,
the
I
the
have no
fear
problem
of
going
that.
in and saying, I know nothing about this. And that's
Mm-hmm.
why I'm hiring you.
Yeah, but
Right.
there's
And
so
by the
many women
way,
that are.
I don't want to spend 4 hours understanding these spreadsheets. Give me the bottom line. Am I
Exactly.
doing good? Am I not doing good? What do you recommend I do to make this
Why do you
thing
recommend
happen?
that? Yeah, exactly. Exactly. No, that's totally it. And I think a lot of women, and it's very strong women who, have high powered jobs, or, CEOs or VPs and stuff, they are terrified of having that conversation saying, I don't understand this. And I was that person. My husband, when we got married, I was still teaching. And so I wasn't in the industry. And my husband mentioned something very simple like interest rates. And I remember, and we were talking about our bank account, and is that the right place to put our money? Should we put it someplace else to get a better interest rate? And I thought, interest rates are for loans. What is he talking about? That's our money. And we just had gotten married, and I was so afraid to tell him I didn't understand, because I
Oh,
felt stupid. It brings out, like, my husband would have never said you're stupid for asking me
no.
that. He's very open to having we have tons of financial conversations now, but it brought that insecurity out of me, that I felt stupid. And that this was an area that I always felt like I don't understand it. I should understand it. And I don't want anybody to know how much I don't understand it. And I
Well,
think
I
there's a
think that's
lot
not
of us
just
out
about
there.
finances. I think that's women
Mhm.
in the workforce, period.
Yeah, I
Because
think so
that's a
too.
sign of weakness. And if we show weakness, we become prey animals.
Mhm. Yep,
You know,
exactly.
um,
Exactly.
not only to the guys out there, but we did ourselves a disservice in the 70s and 80s by acting like guys and, not
Yes.
supporting each other.
The
So,
first, I would say 7 years of my career, I feel like I was taking steps backwards because all the men were the ones that were training me. And not that I didn't have some great people, I did, but it's very hard to learn from a man how to act as a female in this role.
right.
And I was trying to act like them,
Mm,
run meetings like they did. And I realized about 7 years in, I'm like, this isn't working. Like,
mm,
and my husband was even saying, like, just be yourself. Like, who is, like, I think he was sitting in a meeting or something like that. And he's like, who is that? Why do you talk like that? Like,
uh-huh.
just be, oh, I remember we were at a networking event and he was
Oh,
hearing me, somebody had brought up, oh, what if I came to work with you? How would that work? And I went into my like professional mode and he's like, who is that person?
oh
Nobody
my
wants to work with
goodness.
that person. And I love that he told me that because it
Wow.
wasn't me. And so
Isn't
when you
that,
start to like break that
oh,
open, yeah, it's crazy. It's
that's
crazy.
amazing that he was able to say that to you and you
Yeah.
took that to heart because, well, thank goodness, because we should
Yeah. My
all
husband's very
be,
open, which I appreciate.
yeah, we're always best when we're authentically ourselves. And most of
Yeah,
us spend most of our lives trying to be something different. Isn't that
exactly.
sad?
Like we're always afraid of what we're going to say wrong when we're talking to a supervisor, when we're talking to this person or that person. And instead of saying, it's funny. The biggest thing that I think women have a problem with saying, and it's funny because we should be able to say it is, I don't know the answer. Like
Right.
I had a horrible time saying that. I'm like, what is the problem? I'm not omnipotent. I
Yeah,
of course I might not know an answer to something or I might make
right.
a mistake. And I think everybody is okay with that as long as you fess up, you're an adult and you say, I don't know the answer, but I'll get it for
I'll
you and you
find out.
do.
Yeah.
Or, in the follow through of that, or I made a mistake and I'm so sorry and here's the solution and this is how we're going to fix it. I
Mm-hmm.
think that women put themselves sometimes at a disservice because we're trying to compete with this level that I think it's impossible because I mean I'm kind of a guy's girl. I watch football with my husband and
Mm-hmm.
a lot of my friends from college are guys and stuff. So fitting into that environment wasn't hard for me, but I'm never going to be one of the guys. It doesn't
No,
matter.
any more
And
than you're going to
so
let them be part of the girl circle.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so I think we think that we've got to compete at this level instead of just bringing in our own wonderful parts of our personality that really we underestimate sometimes, like the nurturing side. I feel like it's funny because
Oh,
I was trying to
yeah.
hide kind of my nurturing nature, because that's not what you do in finance. And I think that that's probably one of my strongest points now is that I do have that kind of like nurturing
Empathy.
nature. And I think it helps people feel better in times like 2022 when the market's falling apart.
Yeah.
You have to be strong and give guidance too, but sitting and listening to somebody's fears is not, I would say, not necessarily a strong point for men in general. They are the fixers, they want to fix things.
Yes.
And women don't have that as we want to hear what the problem is, empathize. And then I think the
Hmm.
thing that I had to break through was getting to that, okay, now here's the time that we're going to make a choice and move forward with something,
Right.
and bringing
Right.
that strong hand that you do need to do, because otherwise it's just sitting here wallowing, and that's
Hmm.
not what anybody hires me to do. So
Yeah,
but I do
exactly.
think it's funny, leaning into our authentic nature is really important.
So what is the value that you hold most dear that is kind of the red thread through all of your work and your life?
I think well, authenticity is one, just because that was such a hard lesson to learn. But I would say making sure that I'm honest and that I'm accountable for things,
Yeah.
keeping my clients accountable for things. that I would say is probably half of my job, is keeping clients accountable to doing what they say they're going to do.
Wow.
Like everybody has that trust that they say that they've been going to put together for like
Yeah.
5 years, and they've never picked the phone up or thought about setting up an appointment or anything. Like that's my job, to keep bringing it up so it doesn't
Oh,
get
yeah.
lost, right? So
Or to
part of my
remind
job
them
is
to put into
accountability.
their, or remind
Yeah,
them to put into their SEP.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. And for me, that's a very important thing for me. I like working with people who are accountable, but I also feel like I need to make sure I follow through with what I say I'm going to do. So even if
Right.
it's some little thing like, um, I told somebody I'd send them a recipe. I do it. As stupid as that is, like, would a client really be mad at me that I didn't send them the recipe that we were talking
No,
about?
they wouldn't be mad,
No,
but they would
but
question your reliability, right?
yeah, exactly. But if that's not important to me, then, so I'm sure I make mistakes. I'm not perfect, but that is really important, is to making sure that I'm being accountable and that I'm following through and that I'm doing what I tell people I'll do.
So, so when you decided to become an entrepreneur, what was your number one fear?
So I'm going to backtrack a little bit. I actually didn't make the decision to become an entrepreneur or
Okay.
business person. I did not think of it that way. So I
Okay.
started on the insurance side of finance, which most of us do.
Mhm.
And you think, okay, well, I sell a policy and I get a commission. And I sell, like I just didn't think of it that way. And actually, my husband said he didn't think of it that way either. Like we just didn't, I just thought I didn't have a salary, that I had to kind of go out there and make my own way.
Yeah.
That's being a business owner. And I
Oh,
didn't even think of
absolutely.
it that way.
Oh,
Did
yeah.
not
Oh,
think
I
of it that
totally.
way.
Wow.
And it wasn't until like year 4 or 5, and I was like, oh, I I should really think about this a little bit. Like I need to keep accounting. I need to, because the first couple of years I made like almost no money, because I was trying to learn and I was trying to figure out stuff, and the whole thing. So I didn't make I mean, I made some money, but not much to have
Yeah.
to deal with a bunch of taxes and stuff. And then you start to do well, and you're like, oh, I have to do bookkeeping and I have to
Yeah.
do some taxes and I have to, there's all
Oh,
these
yeah.
things to consider. I'm like, when did I become a business owner? So that's the 100% honest truth. I really didn't make the decision, but it's funny. I think as I start to grow, and, I have probably more fears than I did when I started on that, which was, now it's like, how big do I grow? Do I want to build an empire, or am I good kind of
Hmm.
slowly growing and doing it my own way? Do I want to, you know, be more educational and have more educational outlets rather than just do, so that kind of thing is always a little bit
Yeah.
more fearful. You don't want to necessarily take away from the thing that's working, but at the same time, you do want to push yourself a bit and see where it can go. And our world, this world at least, you're supposed to get a paraplanner, and you're supposed to get full-time assistant and build out a whole and have all these, have a big company. And I don't know if I want to go that direction. I still haven't decided completely on that, but I don't know. And that's a little scary, because that's not what most advisors do. They want to build these big conglomerates, and I don't
Yeah.
necessarily.
Well, and that's the thing is I think when we're thinking about what we want to do, we have to again go back to that authentic self and say,
Yeah.
what is it that I really want? What jazzes me up every day? And running a conglomerate in my case, or an empire with 20 people and 70 projects or whatever I don't want a consulting firm. I just want to do really great work
Yeah. That's
with
me too.
a few people who really, really need my help,
Hmm.
and obviously I want to pay my bills and make a decent
Yeah.
salary from my own company, but there are different levels of success, and we have to
Hmm.
allow ourselves to define our own level of success.
Yeah.
So
I
I'm
agree
glad
with
to hear
that.
you say you're still you're kind of weighing your options right now. That's
Yeah.
awesome. That's
Yeah. I
awesome.
don't need to. I mean, I might wake up in 5 years and go, now I'm ready. Let's go. Let's build
Yeah.
it. Or I might still be okay with having a very close practice, which is, clients call me, they're able to get a hold of me right away. There's no
Yep.
secretary they're going through or anything. I have obviously outside help and stuff, but I don't know if I want to lose that closeness with clients and it might be control too. I might just be, wanting to keep control over everything because if something goes wrong, it's usually my fault, which I'm able to figure out and fix. But so things like that. But I don't know. I
Yeah.
think business is always scary, whether from the moment you start to, all the way through. I think any business owner who's not constantly thinking about where their business is going is probably, um, I hate to say it, probably not doing super well in their
Right.
business.
Right. I call them the working retired.
Yeah.
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 Not really in it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so I have my three questions. We're getting close
Okay.
on time. So, the first one is if you will close your eyes
Okay.
for just a minute, describe the picture that appears when I say wise woman. And when you get that picture in your mind, open your eyes and describe her to me.
Nothing's coming to mind.
Oh, come
That's
on.
horrible. That's horrible. I'm getting like a general feeling like of a
Okay.
executive or somebody like that I kind of
Uh-huh.
have as like a cartoon character in my head, but I
That's
don't have
fine.
anybody that came to mind, which is awful, isn't that? But it's
No,
just
no,
not.
no. I've had all kinds of answers to this question. So,
Yeah.
whatever appeared in your mind, just describe it.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
like I said, the kind of the I don't know, like I said, a kind of a cartoon character of like an
Hmm.
executive of some kind, but not anybody who is overly aggressive or something, just, a female in her own, doing her own thing.
Well, there you go. A female doing her own thing. That is a wise
Hmm.
woman.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's as
Yeah.
simple as that, right?
Yeah. Pretty
There
much.
you
Yeah. That's
go.
what I got. I don't know if I was supposed to get like Mother
There
Teresa
was
or
no,
something coming into
there
my
are
head, but
no,
that's not what happened.
there are no supposed tos with that question. No
Okay.
supposed tos. Where do you like to roam?
We have, I mean, part of the reason we moved up to northern Arizona is we have trails and nature. So I roam on our trails around here all the time. I just was out with girlfriends yesterday doing that. And now on the weekend, I always put in a podcast and roam around and walk about 6 or 7 miles just to kind of
Nice.
rest and get the weekend to the point that I want to. So
That's beautiful. What makes you restless in a good way?
uh my YouTube channel right now. That's my honest answer.
Why?
That's been my focus this year because I
Okay.
kind of am still trying to figure out how to make this work and how to grow and stuff. So it's a good thing. I like the challenge of figuring out how to get some subscribers and get
Mhm.
like what do people want to watch on finance, and like I don't think I've hit that properly yet. That kind of thing. And so just trying to figure out messaging in terms of finance, but finance for women. But if women aren't, I mean, it's kind of this full circle back to if women aren't
Right.
seeking that
Mhm.
education, are they finding the content? No. So how do I lead the horse to
Yeah.
water kind of thing? So that's kind of my internal struggle I'm always going through is like, how do we get, because I feel like not to go off on a tangent, but I feel like the stuff I talk about would be very relevant. I just don't know if they're searching for it, kind of thing.
Mm. That's a tough one,
Yeah.
but I think with some sexy hooks, you could probably make a lot of people curious,
Yeah, exactly. So I
you
don't know. My
know?
husband's saying tie it into some other like I like makeup, I like beauty stuff. So like maybe tie it in with that. I don't know.
Nah,
Just I don't
nah,
know. Yeah.
nah.
So
Tied into what women are worried about.
yeah. But are they
How am I going
searching
to
for
put my?
that?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
Oh yeah, I think so. I would watch a channel that told me what a freaking, SEP IRA was
Hmm.
without me having to search SEP IRA. I would probably, what would I search for? How do I keep as much money as possible without taxes after, you know,
Yeah.
I'm a single woman with uh, two kids and I have to put in college. How do I do that? Those kinds of
Got
things.
it.
Yeah, that's just for me, I'm an older woman who has struggled with money her whole life.
Hmm.
How do I make sure I can take care of myself during uh, my retirement years? Because
Hmm.
statistics say my husband is going to die before me.
Yeah.
So, and I don't want to be a burden to my kids.
Yeah. I think that actually that's the thing that I hear most
Oh,
women say
yeah.
is I don't want to be a burden to kids or to anybody, that they
Oh,
don't
yeah.
have kids, which I don't have kids. So I do tend
Yeah.
to work a lot in the child free market. And they say the same thing. I don't want to be a burden to anybody.
Right. And having a mother with Alzheimer's, I can tell you,
Oh gosh. Yeah.
it is very, very, very stressful,
Hmm.
especially, and my sister and I get along great, but
Oh,
she's the
good.
main, she's the main caretaker of my mom now she's in a care facility, but my sister is still the go-to person.
Yeah. That makes sense.
That can put a strain on a relationship if you don't already have a decent relationship.
Yeah. I could see
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes a
So
lot of sense. So
there are a lot of, again, here we go, the women. What are we talking about? We're not talking about the money, we're talking about the emotion.
yeah, that's
Ah,
true. That's very true. So
yeah.
yeah, maybe I just need to tweak it a little bit. So, but that's what I'm always struggling with is figuring that stuff
There
out.
you go.
So thank you for your insights. It's very helpful.
Oh, well, I think I'm one of your target audience, so
Yeah.
that's the thing. Ask your target audience. What would make you
Yeah.
watch a video on finances?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's very true. So awesome. Thank
Okay.
you.
Well, I don't mean to run your business or anything, but no.
No, it's good. No, I always want feedback. That's
this
why
is
that's why
what
I brought it up. So
this is what we share. This is what we do for each other. We
exactly.
support each other.
Hmm.
So, thank you very, very
Of
much for
course.
being on the episode. And if people wanted to get a hold of you, we will put your links down in the show notes, the links that you sent us. But you can find her on LinkedIn. She has, as you noted, she has a YouTube channel. Lisa does, and then www.onevisionretire.com
Hmm.
is
Yep.
where you can find information about her services. So thank you, Lisa,
Yeah.
for being on with us.
Thank you so much. I appreciate this. This
Much
was a lot of
needed.
fun.
Great. Julie Noonan here. Thank you so much for listening to Roaming with Restless Women. If you're a successful senior woman leader who would like to be on this program, please visit podcast.intuitivewisdomcoach.com. If you enjoyed this interview, please share this episode on social media and make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. Your thumbs up, ratings, and reviews go a long way to help promote the show, and they mean a lot to me, my team, and most importantly, my restless guests. As a special gift to you, our listeners, I offer a free one-on-one 15-minute breakthrough session. Bring a problem and experience how coaching works to see if it could be of value to you. Sign up for an available time on my website, intuitivewisdomcoach.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.